Talking of throwing one or two at you, the Spurs manager has been doing just that, hasn't he?
Yeah, weird.
What did you make of that interview straight after the game?
Well, look, it's not the first time we've seen Conte miffed at the way his team have performed and kind of start going down this road a little bit of things have got to change here in order for us to progress, in order for the team to get better, blah, blah, blah. We have heard that before, but this one felt to me a bit like he's at the end of the line a bit and he's at the end of the road and he's hit a brick wall. The team are going backwards a bit. He can't really get the message, whatever that message is, home to this particular group of players, or they're not taking it on board. They're not really, they're not carrying that out to the sort of detail that he would demand. And as a result of that, he's decided to leave a bit on the players. It's very dangerous territory for a manager to go down. Very, very dangerous. So it wouldn't surprise me if he went. It wouldn't surprise me if Daniel Levy turned around and said, no, we can't have that. But a lot of what he said, I get.
Well, let's have a listen.
I get that.
Let's have a listen to a lot of what he said. I think that's what I'm trying to say. If you've not heard it, this is the Spurs manager, Antonio Conte. He lost it with his players in an explosive press conference after their 3-3 draw with Southampton at the weekend. Have a listen to this.
The club paid us a lot of money. The players receive money. Me receive money. You understand? Not to find excuse and don't have spirit or don't show the sense of belongings or don't show sense of responsibility, because we are showing this. And for me, this is unacceptable for me, because this is the first time in my career to see a situation like this. And until now, I wasn't able to change. Not to change, but compare last season, the situation went to become worst. Why? I don't know, because they are used here. They are used here. Don't play for something important. They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. Yeah, it's easy in this way. And Tottenham story is this. 20 years that there is the owner and never won something. But why?
What? Go on.
I was just going to say, see, if you say that they don't want to, they don't want to play under pressure. They're used to it here. Used to losing. They're used to not playing under pressure. It's basically saying they're bottle jobs. He's actually saying to his players that they got no rear end, right? And again, you can't, because Romero, I don't see him being a bottle job. And let's start to analyse, who's he talking about? Because that's the one question for me. If I was in that dressing room, first question if I saw Antonio Conte today, I'd say, who are you talking about? Who is the...
if you're a player, you're asking that?
Who are you talking about? The selfish ones. Which ones are the ones in here? I mean, look, they might all know within their dressing room, because we don't, we're not in there. They might all know are the ones in there who look after themselves. There's always players that are selfish. Every team's got players that are fundamentally quite selfish. They have, but it doesn't mean to say that they can't win. Doesn't mean to say they're not good. But every dressing room has got those players. But who are you talking about, boss? When you said at the weekend that we can't play under pressure, we're selfish, who is it? That's what you'd be asking. That question, you'd want to know the answer to that.
See, what I don't get, right, is we pat a manager on the back when they're successful, right? He picks the players, he picks the formations, he makes the substitutions, okay? Yeah. He sets up Spurs nowadays, and he has for a long, long time. Same formation, right? 3 at the back with wing-backs. He sets them up to only play a second 45. He doesn't want to lose the first 45. Very rarely do they go ahead 1-0 at half-time. Usually they go a goal down. These are all his tactics, right? If you can't get a tune out of a certain player, right? If your team aren't playing the way you want to be, want them to play, etc., etc., my view is you're paid to manage and you're not managing. That's his one job, is to manage. That's his only job. And he's not managing the players. Surely all of the above is his fault, isn't it? If he gets if they win the league, we go Antonio Conte. What an amazing manager, right? If they go down, we go sack the manager because he hasn't got a tune out of them. So surely somewhere in between, it's always the manager's fault, right?
Well, totally his responsibility. You're absolutely right about. I've seen a passive Spurs so many times this season. At home, in that new unbelievable stadium when there's 60,000 in there, just wanting to see their team go for it, they sit off the game. That it's no surprise that they can see 2 goals at the end of a game like they did, even against the Southampton team with respects. Spurs don't keep the ball. They don't have the ball. Whenever I've watched them, I think They're playing on their own patch against an inferior team. They're not dominating possession. They're allowing opposing teams to have comfortable possession against them. And they do this time and time again. Now, I never saw Antonio Conte's Chelsea team like that. I did not see them like that. I saw them totally different to that. Clearly, when he went to Inter, they were very different to that, and he had success there too. He has a method and a way of going about it. Seems to me, when Jose came to Spurs, he allowed that group of players to try and... Or Jose never quite stamped the Jose way on that group of players. And I'm seeing the same thing with Conte. They look to me like they're caught between two stools. He's trying to allow them to do something that they do naturally quite well, and also trying to implement his own ideas. It's not all in either way. And it sounds to me now at the weekend, and that he has gone, I've had enough of this lot. I mean, the bit that annoys me sometimes with managers, and I've never done it, and we all know why they hang on to the last minute to get the elbow. Of course we know why that is, because they want their money, right? Because they get a lot of grief, they get a lot of aggro, and it's 24/7, and so I respect all that. But in this situation, when Conte's talking, like, why don't he just go? Why don't he just say, listen, I'm done here, I've had enough. I can't, it's not working. My ideas aren't working. When Kevin Keegan walked out of the England job all them years ago, well, you know what? At least he had the balls to turn around and go, it's not happening for me. I can't do it. I don't know why Conte wants to. What's he expecting this morning when he walks into the training ground?
What do you think will happen? What would Daniel Levy do? What do you think should happen to him, Andy?
Well, he should give him the sack. He should give him the sack for that. You can't turn around and start saying and calling your players spineless, who are lacking any guts. They've not got the rear end for it. You can't do that.
How would you feel if you're one of his players in the dressing room, knowing your manager said that?
That's why I just said it. You'd like to know who you're talking about. Which ones do you feel? Who are these characters that you're saying that are selfish?
In that situation, right? And I'm sure you've been in a dressing room where a manager's maybe has thrown a player under the bus, or there's been a difficult or frosty relationship between some players and the manager.
Yeah, of course there is.
Have you ever been in a club where a group of players, a couple of you, even one of you, has gone to see the chairman to say, look, it's not working with the manager?
No, I've never gone to see the chairman and said, you got to get him out. No, never.
Okay. Do you know of any scenario where players have gone above the manager?
I spoke to Johnny Giles years ago. Do you remember when Cloughy was at Leeds?
Yeah, legend,
back in those days. I remember when Giles, he said, when Cloughy came in and tried to rip the place up, and do things so differently. And Giles, he said to me, him and Billy Bremner were talking to the hierarchy and saying, listen, what's he doing? Can't have this, because they were winners at that stage. This is a very different scenario. There's none of the Spurs players would be knocking on Daniel Levy's door. Not Harry Kane, I don't believe, not any of them would have the gumption to do that.
Would the agents get involved?
No, nor should they. They should be a million miles away from it. Agents, they're the last people that you want to be involved, that should be getting involved right now when a situation's like this. But this Tottenham team, and I don't know what it is, they limp from one manager to the next, and they move from one guy's ideas to another guy's, and they have 5 minutes where it looks like it's working, and then it doesn't. Now, they're still fourth in the table. They're still in there. Third as well. Could have gone third. They're still in there with a huge shout and a say on the Champions League places. Why on earth would that manager come out and say that? Now, if he's trying to leave a bit on him to get a reaction, he's gone, that's kind of going too far, isn't it? That's a bit too far, what he said. But look, I'm intrigued to know. Maybe the Spurs fans will be able to tell us who those selfish ones are, who those boys that he thinks aren't all in as much as he wants them to.
I'm looking at the switchboard. Some Spurs fans are agreeing with what Antonio Conte said, so this will be interesting.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.